What's up, guys? So the other day I was watching Wood By Wright, and he did a wood carving of a Celtic knot on top of a box. No, it wasn't a box. It was this plane, and I thought, oh, that looks really cool. And I was feeling inspired by St. Patty's Day coming up here soon, so I decided to go ahead and carve this. It's a Celtic knot circle around a 3-leaf clover, and I did the whole thing with just one bench chisel, and I did it on a scrap of tongue and groove pine from Home Depot because I wanted to prove to you guys that you don't have to have all the fancy wood and the perfect tools to get going. I just want you guys to get out and make something. So let's go. Alright, so this is going to be my technique here. I already traced on the clover here, the shamrock, and this is a little Celtic knot ring that I designed. I'm going to trace this on, but basically I printed it off and I traced the other side, so I put it over something light so I could see the lines, and then I just traced it with this pencil. And now when I flip it over and line it up, then when I can trace all of these lines, and it will be transferred to the wood. Now I've got it pretty well traced, and I can just go over it to make the lines a little darker if I want to. So now we've got the lines nicely laid out. We got to trace it first with a knife so that when we start chiseling it won't blow out. Alright, the ring is outlined. Now just for the inside shamrock. This is where I start doing some of the dropping of the background. I start by just going around the outside, tapping, trying to get it to pop out. You'll see me switch my techniques a few times, so then I stop using the mallet and I just kind of use my hands and some pressure. If your chisel's sharp enough, then it can just kind of slice through the fibers. A couple times I retrace some of those lines with my knife just to get a deeper cut. So I'm using a 3/8 inch chisel here. You can see it's a little tight in spots with the design. So if you decide to do any carving, make sure that your chisel is small enough to fit in those details. I had a few spots that it was kind of difficult, so I had to use my knife more in those areas later on. And you have to be really careful when you're
pushing like this so you don't slip. If I had slipped, that stem would have just popped right off. Now I'm starting to work on the 3D aspect of that Celtic knot that's weaving around itself. My blasted furnace keeps going when I'm working in the basement, so you'll have to excuse the extra noise. And I realized those little holes between the weaves would actually be able to be drilled out, so I went for that. And I decided you've seen drilling enough, you didn't need to actually watch that. I added a light here. It helps show you the depth of the carving as I keep going. And I'll show you here in a second where you can really tell that it's starting to pop out and get that 3D effect. Now that I've got a good drop on the background, start working on the details of the shamrock in the middle. And once I get those done, I start to round out the petals, curve them a little bit so they're not so harsh. This is my favorite part of the carving, where it all starts to look like a nice braided rope around the outside. Then I gave it a good sanding, but we've all seen how that goes, so let's move on.
So yeah, guys, that's all there is to it. I didn't put any finish on it yet. I just left it sanded and without finish, but I'm pretty proud of it. This is the first thing that I've ever carved by relief carving. I've done some other carvings just with a little hand knife on some balsa wood, but this is the most interesting design that I've ever worked on. And I just wanted to lay out a few things that are not ideal about how I did this. So number one, pine tends to split and splinter. Definitely not the best wood for carving in my opinion. But again, you're going to be able to learn on whatever materials you have laying around. And I had this cut off from when I made a wall out of some tongue and groove boards. And so yeah, don't let that hold you back. The other thing, gouges, a nice sharp gouge, definitely nice with the curve on it to be able to get those chips out more easily and not leave extra cuts that make it kind of a rough finish. So if you want to really get into carving, gouges are going to be the way to go. But don't underestimate what you can get done with just a standard bench chisel. A V-tool instead of a knife definitely would make this a lot prettier to begin with too. The knife, when you push down and you're carving it, it actually, if you don't go deep enough with your relief cuts, you can actually you'll have scarred wood, and there might be a little bit of that on here that I can show you, but basically it's it makes it a rougher finish, not quite as polished. But again, most of us don't have gouges or V-tools to use, so knife and a bench chisel is the way to go. Yeah, and I really enjoyed making this project, so I hope that this has inspired you maybe just to grab a chunk of wood and see what you can come up with. If you have any questions about how I came up with my design, how I transferred it over to wood, what I'd recommend doing in the future for that, hit me up in the comments, and like and subscribe if you want to see more like this. Thanks for watching. Bye.